Welcome back, everyone. It's time for Game 2 of Group A. The first one, convincingly, although not so much on Cobblestone, but nonetheless a 2-0 in favor of Europe. Envious, they took first blood over Liquid, despite Mo standing in. It was still a reasonable performance from the U.S. side. The #1 seed. This game a little bit different. It's Conquest against Fnatic, and if you think that Envious is the best team in the world, the only team you might naturally think are their competitor right now for that spot is Fnatic, so definitely a tough task. With that said, I won't waste any more time. We'll introduce the teams. Coming in first on my left side, it is the Swedish powerhouse Fnatic. I think we'll grab a word with Crims. Good to see you. I'll get you to swap over. I know it's just whatever. For my reasons, it's easier to have you on my right side. Is it weird walking in without fans? Like in my head, there's always 1,000 screaming people, but I've consulted my doctor. I'll worry about that. How about you guys?
Nah, it's cool. We only hear boo, so nah, it's fine.
I noticed you've switched hats. You used to have the In the City one. I used to allude to when you wore that hat, you'd play better, but you're coming off an excellent tournament yourself. The MVP of Fragbite Masters just last weekend. Is this a new hat, new Crims?
I mean, I gotta work in the luck in this beanie, so I had too many losses with the other one, so not a single loss with this one, so trying new things.
Yeah, well, trying new things that may pay off. Speaking of that, you guys have had 2 wins in 2 consecutive tournaments since the roster change, a big roster change as well, taking out your in-game leader. Naturally, it's a unanimous decision that with Dennis, this roster packs a little more punch. How are things actually working within the team right now? Obviously, the victories speak for themselves, but is this a honeymoon period or is this actually working well?
It's working very, very well, but we are still a new team and we make some crucial mistakes because we haven't had a lot of practice. But in the end, I think we're going to be the best team on paper, on everything, and we're very confident.
I like the confidence. I like it. Well, 2 straight victories does say that. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this tournament in particular. Coming into ESEA Pro League, we got best of 3s to go all the way through. 1 game a day gives you lots of time to relax. But you start off against Conquest. Now, you guys naturally don't know as much about these guys. You worried at all? Have you done any scouting whatsoever? Or are you just going to play your game?
Honestly, we have no idea how they play, and we haven't watched any demos. We feel like very confident coming into this tournament with 2 wins, and I don't know, we're just gonna play our game and not underestimate them because everything can happen. And we play on this level, people are good, so just play our own game and win.
All right, well, I'm going to let you go do exactly that with your team. Play your own game. Best of luck. And it has been an absolute, I'd say, incredible story. You switch arguably the best roster in the world. You switch their in-game leader out, and yet they're still capable of winning. It's a new era, perhaps. We'll have to see how that unfolds. And a team that definitely wants to stand in their way and prevent them from getting off on the right foot this tournament is Team Conquest. They got their own established fan club, but we'll see if they can hold up to their performance at CEVO this weekend. I like the coordination. Red, black, and then, of course, Shazam. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Excited to play.
Absolutely, and I understand why you would be excited. You guys are, in some ways, and you've been alluded to this, the team of misfits, the team of players that have been on various rosters. The interesting thing is the Denial core from the December of last year, a year ago, are kind of reunited. You, Nafly, and Daps, who have all had stints in Team Liquid, Cloud9 in your case. How do you guys actually feel as a roster? You have such just loose play style. Is there actually like a cohesion there, or is this just like a go all out and hope for the best kind of mentality?
No, there's definitely a lot of cohesion. I mean, like you mentioned the Denial lineup. Like since we were on that team, like we've always still wanted to play with each other. We're really good friends. And then Stanislaw and Rush, we're teammates from like Stanislaw was my teammate, Rush was the rest of the guys' teammate, and like we just love playing with each other. So like there's a cohesion. We work hard. Like Daps and Stan put like some of the most hard work I've ever seen on any team. So they're like the brains behind the entire operation.
And you've definitely got some fanship as well. Obviously at CEVO you had your own fan club that was ridiculous. Now that you guys admitted that actually helped you guys. You got pumped, you got into the game, and you are that kind of personality, like you said, fun play style. I think that shows in a lot of the behaviors of and the mannerisms of your players. This weekend's a little different. In CEVO things were great. You guys had an absolutely incredible tournament, kind of turned some heads, made some people recognize, took note. iBuyPower, a couple days, actually a week after, I guess, not quite the same results. Now, I know you said we've got something planned to get pumped. We're going to do good this weekend. What are your expectations, though, starting off the weekend against Fnatic?
So we're not really focusing on like gimmicky counter strats or like just getting a map upset. Like we've got like our game settled. Like we know what to do on what maps we want to play, and we're just going to play our game and like impose our game onto them. See how it goes.
All right, we'll play with speed and style. You always seem to do so. I'll let you join your team as well. Get in, get warmed up, get pumped up, and we're going to do the exact same thing by talking to some of the best minds in the game. And Machine. I'm sorry I had to do it, but he's standing by with the analysts.
Man, this is going to be a long weekend, isn't it? I mean,
How's
it's
that
not
make
even a
you
weekend,
feel?
it's 4 days, and Matt's already starting to fire shots. He's going to be hurting my feelings a lot as the week does progress. I'm joined by some new faces now. Of course, I've got Anders now, Sean and Moses. How are you boys doing? You feeling good? Anders, you're looking radiant today.
You got to get better at lying, man. You've just
I had to pause. I was like,
Yeah.
where am I going with this? Anders,
Yeah.
you look. Could say how far I
said
got.
new faces while I literally
I was
just
actually
turned
admiring
thir-
the beard. Did you go for a trim today? Looking good.
Yeah, I spent some time on
Yeah,
it.
you
know,
shaved
a
it?
little bit. Yeah, and I just turned 30 as well. So
I know.
oh,
A little
not
congratulations
not
is in
so new
order.
face.
It was like 2 days ago now.
Yeah, something like that.
Well,
I lost time
congratulations.
traveling as
Well,
well.
when you're 30, you know, you just
yeah,
that's what
I
stops,
managed
right?
to be home for just 20 hours to celebrate my birthday, and I was off to LA.
Oh, well, at least you did get your birthday.
I
here.
did,
I mean,
but luckily-
Henry doesn't ever celebrate Christmas with anyone, so at least you get to do
amazing.
your birthday with
That
someone.
is stellar.
Is that
That's
real?
nice. That's real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last 2 Christmases you spent alone playing Counter-Strike.
Okay.
I'm not even joking. Anyway, Sean,
Like
how are you
that.
doing?
What's going on right now?
yeah, just throwing
Shots
Henry under the bus.
fired.
He was. I was talking to him and he was just like, dropped it.
I
Just drop
approve
that bomb to me.
I
Yeah.
approve throwing him under the bus as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not even here and we're firing shots. But
What are
Sean,
you saying, Creamy?
Well,
oh no.
yeah, I think if are we describing like other people? Because you said he looks radiant, just great. I'm gonna describe Moses.
Okay, go.
You look creamy.
God.
God, this is already a
We just
pretty.
knew it was coming. Let's get it all out of the way, boys.
And I mean, just so everyone knows at home, he loves it. So please feel free. Like every single tweet he gets with that meme is making him happy.
It's
But I mean,
my
Sean, you
lord.
just cast
What have you
like
guys
your first
done?
game. You've got a suit
Monsters.
on. It's looking good.
Yeah.
How's it going so far? How's your week started?
it's gone pretty good. Everything's gone
Yeah.
pretty much according to plan. NA losing.
Yeah.
Oh, me-
In
how-
heartbreaking fashion.
Yeah, and
How did,
heartbreaking.
how did they lose that round?
That was
I'm
incredible.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, what can you analyze when you're like, well, the bomb's down. They've got everything.
3v5.
Everything's
All
working in their
pistols.
favor.
Long range battles.
This is why you
And
know.
not another frag was gotten that
This is
round.
why you know it's a good thing that like Dazed and Steel aren't playing in a team like this, because probably someone would have died if they lost that. I think probably they would have probably murdered somebody.
I think if that scenario happened in FPL, I don't even.
Something horrible.
I
would
don't,
happen.
I don't even know what would happen.
Not a good time. Not a good time, definitely not.
Well, I mean,
Jesus.
we have alluded a little bit to this next matchup. We should probably start talking a little bit about that one, boys. Conquest Fnatic. You know, I think the main port of call for us is going to be talking about Fnatic just first of all, because I think there's a lot to dissect, and I've got a lot of kind of smart people next to me that I'd like to know your thoughts on. When it comes to, you know, Fnatic's recent change, it's been discussed, to, you know, to no end, but Dennis taking, you know, stepping in and we're saying goodbye to Pronax. It was a big change, and I mean, Sean, when you saw that announcement, I assume you knew before the announcement. That's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that you kind of pick up on. But what did you initially feel about that change?
I think as with any time you get a team full of 5 excellent fraggers that just forms, they're gonna have like a high peak initially, and it's on them at that point after that peak starts to fall that they focus back on making new tactics, getting new smoke grenades, staying up to date with the metas, because right now they're just 5 very aggressive aimers and just super cohesive in that aspect, and they're using what they previously built on the old lineup right now. So I think this tournament right now is super important to their future as a team, that they don't start slipping up.
So you're suggesting there's still quite a lot of Pronax in this team despite his absence?
For sure, yeah. They're definitely running a lot of the stuff that they had with Pronax, but they're also playing a lot more loose. There's a very stark difference between this team and that team, but they do have some similarities.
We've actually seen that impact of Pronax if you look at, you know, matches that they played at the end of last year, even like the first, you know, 4 or 5 months of this year. Like slowly, even with Pronax in the lineup, they've been transitioning away from that. Like you used to be able to see like very obvious imprints of Pronax strategically and how players are placed relative to what is happening on the other side of the map, and they've kind of been drifting slowly away from that. So I think it's been a pretty easy transition in terms for Flusha in game leading, because I mean they've been going away from it anyways. So he doesn't have to get too tactical as Pronax was. And yeah, that's the big thing is, you know, as he gets more into an in-game leader role right now, they can just recycle some things, you know, keep going with what's working. But when he actually decides that they need to go in and change something, is he going to be able to do that? That's going to be the real test.
I mean, you got the Flush and Dennis. I mean, we were talking to you about beforehand, Anders. I think like IEM, you were like, I mean, I'd be surprised why Dennis didn't step in at some sort of leadership role. He's always been someone that likes to kind of take that role.
Well, there were all these rumors going around at some point, right? Talking about Fnatic and talking about NIP and how they might try and switch players around. And
Yeah.
I always thought that that if you were to have like 2 leaders in Sweden, then like one would obviously be Pronax, and another one could definitely be Dennis. So Yeah, I think that's like a secondary option for Fnatic, and I think that would be interesting. But I think right now they should give Flusher the sort of the reins to let him try and do it for as long as he can. I mean, the other thing is that I think a lot of the game, the way it features right now, you guys can talk a little bit more about this maybe, because there's so little time to prepare for anything. Having an in-game leader that has like a huge tactical depth, which I guess we don't know if Flusher does or not, but if he doesn't, it won't actually hurt them like all that much. Yeah. Whereas maybe next year, if we don't know what the workload's going to be like, but if it will be less so that teams have more time to practice, then you're going to need tactical leaders again. So
especially after the break right now for the new year, where everyone has time to decompress, make some new tactics, find some new smokes, and just refresh all their maps and their map pool. So especially after the new year, it'll be interesting to see what they're like.
And we have to talk a little bit about their opponents as well, boys. We've kind of just touched on Fnatic. Conquest, of course, going up against them. And I think this is one of those ones that on paper does look brutal. It looks like it could go very much one way and towards the Scandinavian side of things. You've, of course, played against Conquest, you know, with your opportunity, with your team. How would you rate this roster? What do you consider their strengths?
They're actually extremely good. They're a very underrated roster in North America. They had a great run at a LAN tournament sometime a couple months ago.
That was Sivo at MLG.
Yeah, Sivo LAN. Yeah. They took out a couple of good teams. They took out Liquid, which at the time was playing like the best team in North America. So they have all the tools necessary. They have lurkers, they have an opper, they have an in-game leader, entry fragger, support player. They have it all. So it's on them to hit the shots right now, piece together rounds, and they're going to have to play some of the best CS of their lives.
Is that what it's going to come down to, just hitting the shots?
Yes.
Yeah, well, because we saw they had that great tournament. They had that great run at Sivo, and then they went to, the iBuyPower LAN was like a weekend or two after that, and they just got destroyed. So it's like, and that's one of the issues with new teams and new teams that are like all of a sudden finding more success than they're used to, is like being consistent with it. And they haven't shown that they can be, but they absolutely have very, very skilled players that come in and they start out playing really, really well and they get some confidence early on. That's when they can start getting dangerous. Although, I mean, going against Fnatic, this is, yeah.
I kind of almost feel like, I mean, I guess I don't know what their personalities are like, but if I was playing, let's say, Mouse Sports now as Conquest, I would feel like I have to put I would put a lot of pressure on myself to try and do it. If I'm playing Fnatic, I almost feel like I'd probably be thinking, this is so insane. Yeah. So maybe a lot of pressure would actually be taken off, like just because.
This is so insane.
Yeah, well, because if you lose to Mouse Sports, people will probably be like, well, right, we've got like an up and coming American team, and they're playing a European team that has had some struggles, and they can't win anyway. So people will be upset, making Reddit threads and posting on AHL TV and all that stuff. Whereas if you lose to Fnatic, people are just going to be like, well, okay, they lost to Fnatic. We kind of expected that, right? So I might feel a little bit less pressure as Conquest playing a game that's, or sorry, a team that's so much better, basically.
Yeah, and I have heard that a lot in the North American scene. When a lower tier North American team goes up against a stacked lineup like Fnatic or an Envious, the nothing to lose mentality and play loose, guys. Don't keep it all in. So just play your game. So they're probably saying that to themselves right now, yeah. And they could take fights that they typically don't take, and they're going to go for aim battles.
See, this is the question, is whenever I'm thinking about, the North American teams trying to best Fnatic, as I think back to, best of one games where CLG, they lost Mirage like 4 times in a row, and then finally they turned up, picked Mirage against Fnatic, and had like the most ridiculous anti-strats for them, right? This is something that I don't think Conquest are capable of in a best of 3. Like, how far can you anti-strat a team like Fnatic? Especially now, Flusher, you just said they just run around and get aim battles. Yeah, is the time of anti-strat and Fnatic gone?
Deep team. It's so hard to read them. And like, even if you know Olaf's going to try and make a play somewhere, the trick is stopping it, and he's just so good that's where the real struggle comes in. And it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned CLG and their history on Mirage with Fnatic, because it's exactly what they came up to me and said just before they started. They're like shaking their head. They're like, "We got Mirage. We picked Mirage against Fnatic," and I was like, "Oh, you guys that is insane. Like like insanity. Like that's the thing. Like, why are you doing this? Like they picked it, and it's just." All right.
You've alluded to the maps. Let's talk about the Vita. We do have that. We can bring that up on the screens. But, I mean, that's the point. They must have been kind of looking like, so our brothers CLG did it on Mirage. Maybe we can too. And then we can see them there, guys, for you to dissect. We saw the initial veto. Conquest took Dust 2 away from Fnatic. Overpass was the response. And those first 2 picks did come in. Look at that, straight out of the gate. Mirage secured for the Americans, and then Inferno was the response from Fnatic. And, of course, we're going to be seeing Cash as the decider. Thoughts on that one, gentlemen? Moses, I mean, you said Mirage. How do you feel about the Inferno, Cash?
Yeah, it's going to be 2-0.
Yeah?
Inferno's second map is so brutal, isn't it? Like, it's one of those maps for Fnatic have like kind of once again shown that, you try not to play that map against them. Cause
I don't know why an American team would veto Dust 2 against Fnatic.
Yeah, that's a good question.
They're strong on Dust 2, but I don't think they would have picked it. They could have used it as their second veto. Definitely should have vetoed Inferno.
I mean, there's a couple of things to take into account. I think when you're looking at, I mean, when
I love that there's like giggles just because of a map pick. That's the stage we're at already.
Well, to be fair, it's the thing we always say, like, how do you veto against Fnatic? They're good on everything. But to go into like a Mirage as a North American team, who historically North American teams just aren't good on Mirage. You know, CLG's shown some proficiency at it. It's one of their favorite maps, but it's just so much of a struggle. And then yeah, with Inferno coming up, I mean, you can't play Inferno as a second map. Like, it just puts so much pressure on a Mirage. You have no mistakes to give up.
And so, I mean, we talked, Anders, you were just talking about the prowess of Fnatic on Mirage. You're saying, you know, that's just a really foolish pick. I mean, Sean, when you're looking at Fnatic's Mirage and you're like, okay, how are we going to play against this? C9 have got pretty close on Mirage numerous occasions.
We've actually beat them like 16-3 on Mirage.
Exactly. Well, there you go.
But
So
we
let's
shredded the, like,
let's go with this.
Jesus out of them, and they can't do that to this lineup. This is not that lineup that we did that to.
So how many similarities? Like, what was Pronax's Mirage like?
They just fell into more defined roles on their CT side, and this team has 5 people that are literally just running around, just
Steamrolling.
taking people's heads off.
Like just pugging, just running around, shooting people, having
well,
fun.
I mean, they go to spots, but it's a lot less defined.
I'd be interested to see if Conquest have picked up on the whole jump smoke script fad that's been very popular in Europe.
Maybe quick take mid.
Yeah, exactly. Because the smokes you can land in window and the grenades you can land in connector now, they're so fast that like if JW or someone else tries to hold middle, it'll be so hard for them to do it right.
He'd probably just jump out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he probably would. But I'd be interested to see if that's going to be a thing. You're right, though. That is true. I didn't think about that. Damn. I was trying to apply logic to JW position for a second there.
Nah.
I should have done that.
It was cute of you to try, though.
Yeah,
that was nice. So you know what?
Incredible.
We've got some time to buy, and you've just raised the point about jump smokes with the bind. You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's dive a little bit into that, because I feel like that's a conversation I'd love to have.
I love this conversation.
I
I was
know.
going to say, have you vocalized this? Have you vocalized your thoughts on this before? Because you've made some good points off air. You have.
So, well, so just briefly, what I think
Yeah.
is it's a very, very sort of like diluted version
Okay, here
of
we
this
go.
conversation. I think the problem is that if you ban the jump scripts, then you remove a lot of the really interesting and fun smokes that could be made in the game.
Yeah.
But if you keep them in, then the jump script makes sure that there's absolutely no skill involved. Everybody could be at like you know, at an elite level to throw those smokes. So that's also a little bit boring, right? That means there's no like diversity at all. The best teams in the world and people who are like silver elite, they will all be throwing the same really good smokes because it takes no effort at all. So I just think the game should be made so that it takes some practice. Not a lot, because I don't want the whole game to be around. Like, pros already have a lot to focus on, so I don't want people to spend like 10 hours a day, trying to throw smokes, but just enough that you can actually practice smokes and become good at them, and then land some of those pixel smokes. So yeah, I kind of want like the best of both, and I think there's a way to do that. Must be a way to do that.
I mean, there definitely will be like a huge discussion surrounding this one. I mean, Mirage as well is a map where you do see that there's a whole lot of those smokes that will be thrown, and we do have to talk about predictions now, guys. I'd love to go into this a little further, but fortunately, issues resolved. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our predictions for this one. I think it's going to be pretty clear cut, but let's do it anyway.
Okay, I'll just go 2-0 for
Thank
Fnatic.
you. Okay, thank
Are
you.
you 100% sure?
You're going to look
Yeah, I'll
mighty
take that.
stupid.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
100% sure.
100% sure.
Because I'm pretty sure you've told us
You
off
never
for
do
ever
this.
saying that.
You never do
never
this.
say
Yeah.
100%, but you've done it. Okay, what about you, Sean?
This match could be played with all revolvers, and Fnatic is still winning 2-0.
Some would say you don't rate Conquest's chances.
I don't rate their
Look at you.
chance
Look
8
at
out of
you.
8, mate.
Thank you very much. Anders,
I mean, I have such a good opportunity to like.
look like a mastermind in Core
Yeah,
Conquest.
exactly. If I just, but the problem, we're just. I mean,
This is just for Mirage, so we'll be back.
Oh, it's just for Mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still gonna be Fnatic.
Yeah.
Wait. So now Inferno. I mean, just make it a 2-0, Anders. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it has to be.
100%?
It has to be.
Okay, so
No, 99.9.
there you go.
Yeah.
There's always a
Yeah, it
chance.
Always a chance.
It does look like the desk is believing in the Swedes, and understandably so. We're going to go ahead and head to your casting pair for our second game here for the ESL ESEA Pro Leagues. Mega Man, our blue, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Machine, and we are heading into our second match for the day. My name is Blue. Joining me here is Mega Man, and indeed, it's going to look like a rough one, Mega.
I agree 100% with that. Obviously, they don't have much faith in the North American side. Can't really say that I blame them. Obviously, Fnatic's coming off the playing very, very well recently, especially with the new acquisition of Dennis. Just been doing a phenomenal job playing really, really good CS. They've won a couple of events here in a row, and Conquest still hungry, still yet to prove themselves, but it's going to be an uphill battle the whole way
Yeah, the only event, again, the analysts talk quite a bit about it, the only event where we really saw some good progress made by Conquest was back at Sivo Land, which was, you know, a month or two ago now, and at the more recent ones like the iBuy Power Land and the RGN Land, we just really didn't see them show up as strong, so we can't say like that the performance has been carried over, and it's just because we haven't seen them at lands so much. It's been now, they had a really good running at that land, but ever since then they've just basically dropped off the map, and we haven't seen anything super impressive from them beyond online North American matches.
Yeah, and the big part about that too is you talk about these map vetoes a little bit. They touched on it on the analyst desk and about how, you know, Conquest was happy that they got Mirage against Fnatic. Fnatic's just over there. They're rubbing their hands together and salivating over the fact that they get to play 2 maps that they are extremely strong on. So we'll have to see how this one pans out, but it does look like we are getting ready to go into the pistol round here. So, Blue, why don't you go ahead and take us away in the pistol round here for Fnatic versus Conquest.
All right, well, we're going to get right into it, guys, and I think this is actually the knife round, Mega Man.
Is it?
I think it is.
No.
I could be wrong. It says knife round on the side.
It does.
We don't have production telling us otherwise, so we're going to assume it's the knife round. And yes, it is the knife round, guys. Even though we did have pistols out at the start. So again, we can talk a little bit more about this. And again, these map picks were pretty interesting too, because both of these maps too, just talking about the first 2 specifically, are very, very strong towards either side. The problem becomes specifically on Inferno though. I actually did a quick look up of the stats for specifically Fnatic. Fnatic on this new lineup, out of 5 times they played Inferno, they've never once been beaten on it.
Yeah. And that's a huge statistic for them moving forward into this one as well, is just the fact that, you know, even if they do drop Mirage, you've still got Inferno, you've still got Cash after that. And I mean, those are 2, again, very strong maps for them. But if you look at it, what is that? 4 out of the last 5 times that Fnatic has played on Mirage, they've won. So they've got an 80% win rate there. But then adversely on the Conquest side, 7 out of their last 8 games that they've played on there, they've won. So Conquest definitely strong on that map. One of the maps I would have actually liked to have seen Conquest pick, even against Fnatic. See, the problem is Fnatic's map pool is so, the depth of their map pool is so strong. It doesn't really matter what map you play them on. They're good on pretty much everything. But I would have liked to have seen Overpass.
Also, just generally speaking, too, I mean, Fnatic's victories could be considered a little bit more impressive because of the fact that a lot of theirs are going up against some of the top-tier European teams, whereas with Conquest, again, these are versus North American teams, which are considered at their level, and obviously that's just a tier below. It's just not as impressive to see those victories coming out. So the record shows strong, but now they have to throw that progress up a whole other tier here to the top, basically one of the top teams in the world, essentially, and try to beat that up.
Yeah, one of the top, if not the top team. Obviously, EnVyUs has had a couple of struggles here recently. I mean, that matchup between them and Liquid on Cobblestone was a little bit closer than what we might have expected it to be, but we'll see whether or not Fnatic can lock it down here. They're going to be starting on the terrorist side of Mirage, and we are now officially into the pistol round.
All right, so let's get right to it, guys, and take a look. Fnatic jumping onto that T side first. Conquest starting off CT. Pretty normal split here to start things off. They do send 2 over towards the B site to defend this one, and 2 watching out towards middle too, but for Fnatic, it's going to be 4 players pushing up very quickly up towards the T ramp, but Naf, great shot, going to be able to catch JW right off the get-go.
Yeah, Shazam comes right back in onto Dennis, so it's going very well for Conquest so far in the pistol round. That bomb site, well, now it's going to finally get taken. Flush it does take down Naf. Olofmeister onto Daps, but coming back around, it's going to be Crims finds one more. Shazam takes another one out. The trades are all over the map right now, but the bomb plan is down and the favoring situation towards the terrorist side, and now the retake is on. Flush it back. Firebox looking for this frag on a Stanislaw, and it's going to be Olofmeister to clean him up from stairs, so that is 1-0 for Fnatic. And looked good for Conquest to start off that round. The 2 opening picks going their way, but Fnatic doing Fnatic things.
Yeah, the play from Fnatic basically just happened straightforward. Very quickly there to Conquest, aren't really given a whole lot of time to react to that. With what they had to work with, they do a good job of trying to rotate their players in, but their split just did not favor that kind of aggressive push from Fnatic, so they're very quickly shut down. And now immediately we can see the usual buy coming out from Fnatic in the second round here. 2 AKs and 3 SMGs, as they're going to try to plow right through this, whereas with Conquest, not even really investing onto the force buy here. They're just going to stick with, for the most part, P250s and a Deagle for over there for Naf.
Well, they got 3 kills in the pistol round, so they put a little bit of money in the bank as well, so they're opting not to go for the buy up here so that they can get the AWP in the hands of Shazam, because that's really going to be the linchpin for the CT side for Conquest. Is Shazam going to show up? Is he going to be able to hit those op shots and shut down any of these pushes from the terrorist side? How is JW going to be adapting to that? So there's a lot of factors in this. Honestly, my key player right now for the Conquest side would be Rush. What kind of a match is he going to be having on this? Because he's really been stepping up lately for Conquest as well. But adversely on the other side, I mean, Crims, the last couple events, he has been absolutely sensational. And now you see him actually starting to creep up into the site. And Naf from a long range with that Desert Eagle is just going to rip his head clean off his shoulders. But That bomb is creeping through the B halls.
Yeah, there's currently nobody watching out for B from the side of Conquest. They now start to realize this, and Shazam is on his way towards the site, but this hold is going to come far too late here, specifically for Shazam. Oh, actually, scratch that. Wow. He manages to take down JW, but a quick response, thankfully coming out there from Olofmeister. Still keeps things in control here for Fnatic. They are going to be down a player against Conquest, but now they've pushed everybody from Conquest out of the site. We see those rotations coming in, but they need to explode outside here and completely overwhelm Fnatic. Otherwise, they're going to start to shut things down very quickly.
Yeah, this is a good pinch, actually, from the CT side. They're sending 2 around from Catwalk and 2 coming around from the kitchen side, but they're starting to expose themselves. Daps goes down. It's still a 3v3, but look at this. They're just going to try to hold them into the site to try to waste those guns and not allow them to fall back. Crims is going to try to at least get himself out of dodge here. He does manage to take down Stanislaw. He's going to go to battle with Nafly, and he's going to take him down as well, but it's going to be Rush in the backside. He could get the backstab here and take an AK out of their hands, and that's looking like, oh, it's very... Oh, just barely misses the shot. 1 HP for Crims, but he gets out of it, and he keeps the AK. So that's the important thing about it is they lost 3 of the SMGs. They lost 1 over towards the CT side, but they kept both of the AKs, so that's good for their economy.
That's so unfortunate, though. He's only on 1 HP, and he managed to survive there, and that's a whole lot of money he's going to be able to carry into the next round here. The rebuy is now coming out for Fnatic. They actually don't rebuy on... Well, actually, well, scratch that, as Olofmeister does end up buying a MAC-10, but had they have chosen to not buy him, that could have made sense, too. You lose 1 player, it's not the biggest deal in the world. They could have scavenged that AK, and you don't lose a whole lot of money from that sort of play. But Fnatic's still looking good, but interestingly enough here from Conquest now, that SMG sitting in the hand of Daps. He'll try to work something with this one as they tackle their players on the A site, and it seems to be well placed here. Fnatic may not be expecting this just as of yet.
I don't know if Crims spotted Nap's gun barrel just yet, but there's going to be the peak, and Nap is going to take the battle. Takes him very, very low. Rush and Stanislaw going to combine to take down Olofmeister, but the trade comes back out. Now that P90 from Daps underneath the balcony, but he's going to overextend himself. We're down to a 1 versus 2, but it's going to be Stanislaw caught in the middle of a reload. He's going to go down, and Fnatic are going to be able to at least successfully execute their anti-ecos, and they keep, again, 2 of those AKs in hand. Olofmeister picking up an AWP. See if he throws it over to JW, or if he's going to hold on to it himself. But a double op setup right out of the gate here for Conquest.
And this is a very risky move, too, because this is going to virtually leave them with absolutely no money and a very low amount of utility for this entire round, too. You've got 4 smokes for the entire team, but virtually 0 flashbang, or 0 flashbangs beyond what obviously Stanislaw, Daps, and Rush are brought in. And then in terms of mollies and HEs, they've got nothing, so they're not really going to be able to hold back any kind of aggressive play from Fnatic. Thankfully, because again, from that interview that we had with Fnatic's players, they're probably going to be playing this a little bit slower just because of the fact they don't know what to expect from Conquest, so that could hopefully play into them a little bit. But this first op shot here from Naf, going to miss the connection. Thankfully, he is able to correct it on the second try to take down Flusha.
Yeah, and that was really just kind of a bait and switch play right there, trying to draw that rotation over. But Crims is going to be able to find Daps down by connector from the top side of mid. Shazam actually has the open window room right now, but he was holding an off angle for that push to come up towards that A bomb site just for the Palace peak, but it's not going to be coming in that direction. Bomb's actually working its way through the B hall, so Rush and Stan are going to have their hands full. That's a cheeky little flash. I like that one. And that actually does catch out one of the Fnatic players, so they're actually falling back a little bit off of the B halls. Bomb is still holding true there, but it looks like he might be working his way around towards underpass. Maybe. No, actually, he's going to be up in the halls. So it does look like it will eventually be a B execution, but they're going to send this lurker up over Catwalk to see if they can scout out any information and see what can happen here.
Here's the thing, too, though, is that Conquest are very fidgety right now. You can see they've completely emptied out all of their utility already. They've got 1 flash left for the entire team, whereas Fnatic, they still have a smoke. They still have an HE sitting on Crims. They've got a lot to work with. But as they try to enter in, Rush turns the other direction, and that's going to be an easy frag for Olofmeister as they start to work their way in. JW, that might have been a mid-air headshot there as he takes down Stanislaw. Shazam finally coming in for a little bit of a response. He's clear as well as he works his way outside of the market, but wrapping around this corner doesn't necessarily spot it, and Olofmeister going to be able to take out Shazam, only leaving Naf left alive. He has to retreat out of this and try to save this op now.
I can't believe that Shazam was actually able to get himself up as far into the site as he was before anybody spotted him. Naf does eventually fall to Crims 4-0 as your scoreline, but that could have actually been extremely dangerous with Shazam pushing up as aggressive into the site as he was. If he doesn't get picked off by Olofmeister from Catwalk, he potentially could have done some serious damage to that round.
And there we can see as well, they're right at the end of that round. Shazam just barely missing that opportunity. I think he gets taken down just a second before, and is shut out before he can connect the shot that was needed to allow Conquest to make a little bit more ground to re-enter that site. Now, of course, as we were talking about before, Conquest took that very risky path of going for the double op setup, and now they've been left with virtually 0 money to respond to it on this round, so Fnatic should have a pretty secure round coming in their direction, and already starting it off well here. Rush getting overwhelmed by HE grenades. He's already down at 8 HP, and more progress being made in through a mid connector right now. Dennis, Crims, both picking up kills. They don't necessarily account for Shazam, so he's able to sneak through with at least 1, and Stanislaw too, almost picking up 1 there. Brings, I believe, Crims down to 11 HP, but just going to be Rush once again now, sitting below. Very, very low, not really going to be able to do anything else, and this one will definitely be going the way of Fnatic.
Yeah, one of the interesting things to look at here is how Fnatic are already, it's only 5 rounds in, and you can see how many different ways they're switching up the pace in this so far. Last round was a slow B strat with a lurk by flusha out through the A bomb site. Didn't really yield him a lot of information because he got taken down nearly instantaneously by Naf. This time they go fast through mid, get up through connector. They know that it's going to be a save round because of that heavy double up investment. And, you know, they get right in the face of all of those CTs and take them down early on in the round. It's just going to be Rush with Pistol and a Dream. He does manage to take down Crims at least, so a little bit of a silver lining to the round. But let's see if they actually have to... Okay, they do have the money to go for another rebuy here, so I was kind of concerned that with that first gun round, with that double up setup, that might give them a double save here, but they're going to go right back for the double up again.
Interestingly enough, if you sort of hark back to that first gun round, it was really Naf and Shazam that made the only really big impact frags from that round too. So it does, to some degree, make a little bit of sense to attempt this once again.
I think they were the only two that actually got any kills the entirety of the round.
So this makes
anyway.
sense because now hopefully the riflers can have a little bit more impact and maybe they can pick up a round off of this. The problem becomes though, again, even though they're getting a small amount of kills on some of these eco rounds, Fnatic on the T side, these can easily be forgiven. So this isn't really putting a big dent in their economy. They're still slowly building up a bank, and this is going to become a problem for Conquest when they finally pick up a first round. Thankfully though, Naf starting it off strong. He's going to be able to drop Crims. And now once again, we see that very, very slow play from Fnatic trying to investigate what exactly is going on throughout the entire map.
This is a little bit scary. I don't know if you caught this at the beginning of the round as Shazam does pick off Olafmeister, and the execution's coming towards the A bomb site, even though the bomb is back towards T-spawn. Dennis onto Naf, but there was a smoke thrown in B halls, and actually the player that was playing back there, I believe it was Stanislaw, dropped another smoke past it, and the terrorist side player is actually up in front of that smoke in B halls right now, so they've got a little bit of a standoff, and now the pop flash comes around. Stanislaw is going to take the peek, the fake flash with the pistol throw, but Stan does end up getting that, so he does manage to get the frag in the long run. Now it's going to be down to a 2-on-4. The bomb rotating back around towards the B bomb site, and it's going to be flusha trying to get in towards B to get that bomb plant and put the money in the bank again. But with 5 rounds to their name right now, Fnatic shouldn't be hurting for money, and Dennis just trying to do some damage over here at the A bomb site.
Dennis actually making the interesting choice. He's going to try to regroup with his teammate. So we have no clue what's happening.
I have no idea, but at least if I'm listening to the sound, okay, Shazam actually did op him down, and now he's going to try to get into the site, spins around, flusha goes down, Stanislaw going to close it out, and it's a 4-man stand for the first round for Conquest, and that's really, really good, especially I couldn't see if they were able to salvage the second op, so we'll see here in a second whether or not they were able to pick that up for the next round, because that's a big investment to lose going forward, especially when you're relying so heavily on that double op setup.
So,
and they didn't get it.
So now comes the big test here, because as we were talking about before, Fnatic easily with 5 rounds in a row is still going to have enough money to go for their rebuy. If we see Conquest now dropping this one, they're going to have to reset from square one to build up their economy again, because they're still buying out here. Very heavy investment into utility as well, not really taking it very light in that regard. So we're still seeing Fnatic being able to just crush Conquest here and gain even a bigger lead if they just shut down this round. And now they're going to set up smokes here to go directly into that A site, so let's see how it works out.
Beautiful pop flash, though. Daps is going to be able to find one, finds a second. Nap is there for the backup. Daps hungry for more. He's going to find 3 on the round, and it's all down to Crims. Daps going for the 4-piece, and he gets it. 2 rounds now on the board for Conquest, and a great A-hold. That pop flash was so cheeky.
And that was just an overall great response. When you take a look at Conquest, generally speaking there, they just completely counter out the nades that were thrown in by Fnatic. They knew the take was going to be rushing in, and Fnatic just tried to do that so bluntly that it's easy for Conquest to throw out the pop flashes, and they just get shut down outside of Tetris. They never make any progress past that.
And you said a key word at the beginning of that round as well. The investment in utility on the CT side. That's something that with that double up setup that they hadn't really had a couple of those rounds. This time they have that investment and they're able to utilize it well to be able to clean up that push into that A-bomb site.
And again, now from Fnatic, we can take a look and see a lot of players trying to push their way into apartment. Shazam, of course, trying to find something in middle. Not going to be able to pick it up, and in fact, it's a direct hit from a nade. So he's going to be down at 41 HP. Has to fall away from that to some degree here, but still keeping a presence in the general area, whereas the rest of Fnatic, the smokes and the setup now coming in towards the B site. And it's going to be a 4-man push through the apartments. Rush has to reposition. He's outside of this right now. The smokes are really well set up. Fnatic is going to be able to make a lot of progress, but they're not accounting for this. Rush coming in there, picking up 2 as he's traded out. Fnatic retain control, but Shazam again finding those trades back out. Fnatic bring this down to a 2 versus 1. It's just going to be Daps. Unfortunately, he's really outside of the combat zone right now and probably won't even really have a chance to try and close this out.
Big thing, though, is that the bomb is still down in that site, and they're a little bit weary to go and retrieve it right just yet. So he's getting a lot of time to be able to rotate back on around. most likely they'll leave Olofmeister up here in the apartment hallways and B just to, get that two-man stack over on that side of the site. But right now, JW working his way in. The bomb is coming around, so he is going to get that plant down. And now it's going to be Daps coming around from Catwalk. And they have no idea that he's here, actually. Both players were watching towards the kitchen side. Now, Olofmeister did change his direction over towards Catwalk, but he's just creeping up. Now over at bench, and he does finally get spotted out. And that's going to be JW trying to make a little bit of noise, pull the distraction. Olofmeister going to take the peek, and he's going to be able to take him down. So a nice job there in that 2v1 from Fnatic, just using their peaks to their advantage.
As you said before, though, Fnatic actually almost really screwed that up because they had gotten a lot of misinformation as to where that final player was actually situated. It almost seemed like there was a call that mentioned he was already inside of market, like they had spotted him previously, so they draw their attention to that. Thankfully, again, someone relocates to bench and they're able to spot him, but that could have gone a completely different direction if they just focused all their eyesight over towards market.
Well, they threw this really, really nice smoke wall over in the B-bomb site as well, but it actually hindered their progress as well because that player was able to turtle up behind the bench for so long. I believe that was actually Rush that was back there, and he picked up 2 kills from the backside as well.
It's going to be Olofmeister, though, coming in, finding 2 opening picks, dropping both Daps and Naf in order to take both of them down. Now they press their way forward, leaving it down to a 3 versus 5 at this point, but Fnatic definitely in full control. And for Conquest, there's no way they can rotate into this A site. Fnatic take control far too fast. There's nothing the remaining Conquest players are going to be able to do.
Olofmeister, he's still hungry for some more. He gets those 2 opening picks, and he just rushes all the way into CT spawn. He's going to flash his way through the smoke, but Shazam is there with the AWP on the other side, just waiting for him to make that little bit of a mistake. But that's okay because they've got plenty of money now on the Fnatic side, and losing this round Conquest, they need to have all 3 of these players alive if they want anything to go into the next round with. That's the biggest part about this because 3 can drop 2, 2 can't drop 3, and that's especially in this situation where their economy is so wounded.
The rest of Fnatic, though, when you take a look at both Dennis and Flusher, they're actually fairly low as well. And necessarily speaking, Fnatic aren't in too secure of a position just as of yet, so they're going to be sticking outside of this. Won't be hunting down those final rifles again. There's that confidence coming into play from Fnatic here, too, as they know they should be able to close this out regardless of the buys Conquest will be bringing into this round. Thankfully, the reinvestment comes in, but no other rifles, just the 3 that they've saved. And it'll be CZs for both Daps and Naf as the final 2 players.
So moving on in here, like you said, you do have armor pistol buy on 2 of the players. The other 3 that did manage to save their rifles after that last round are going to be looking relatively good moving forward. But the biggest part about this right now is they're just neutralizing Shazam's position. Now, he has been effective with the AWP in some of these rounds, but the impact of his frags were a little bit too little, too late in a lot of these situations. So the mid control, they're not really putting a whole huge presence on the T side in mid. They're just fanning out and trying to push into these choke points, with a 2-man squad. You can see, actually, look up at the B halls right now. We are going to switch over. Daps throws a nice pop flash, but he's not even able to get the kill. Takes Dennis down to 8 HP, but because they've got that buddy system, they were able to trade that kill out. Shazam and Stanislaw are going to be able to find a pair themselves, so they are battling back into this round, but Stan on 8 HP, going to be a tough spot.
And now the members of Fnatic are going to have to figure out what exactly is going on in this A side. Olofmeister, again, finding the great entry to get himself outside of here. Picks up the nade kill, but doesn't realize there is a player working his way back in over there through CT, so Shazam may have an opportunity just as yet to connect some of these shots, but unfortunately, with Olofmeister slowly ripping everyone apart, now Naf just rolls in, picking up the first kill. JW fast on the trade, and just going to be Shazam. He never actually makes any forward momentum, too, as his teammate tries to press forward, so he still has basically no ground to work with, but Dennis is going to give him an opportunity, and now trying to let out that final one, switches over to the pistol. It's him versus JW, the up-on-up battle. JW looking for the peak. They both missed their connections. 20 seconds left. No Bled coming off as of yet. Now JW down at 5 HP. Shazam just trying to finish him off, but he's wasting time here, too. JW needs to get that kill. Shazam going to miss the crossfire, but as he rolls out, they got the pistols. Now JW is trying to bait up, but he misses again, and Shazam closes it out.
What the hell just happened? I have no idea what just happened right there. That was just a battle of the ages right there between those 2 players. That was absolutely insane. And again, watching it on the replay here, JW hits that nice flick shot. Shazam just closes it out finally in this 2v1. He did lay the wallbang down, but if JW would have hit that shot with only 5 HP and clutched it out against Shazam, that would have been absolutely detrimental to Conquest. Now, granted, they are losing by 4 rounds, but Shazam's going to get a golden opportunity here in mid because they're finally putting some presence here from Fnatic.
JW, big mistake from him. He wasn't even looking. What is Fnatic doing right now? They're just walking out in the open. There's not even anything to counter out Shazam like they were doing in some of these previous rounds. Finally, we see a smoke coming in, but it's actually misplaced. And because the smoke that's set up back there on Cat, Fnatic have no clue that they've actually messed this smoke up right now. Thankfully, I think they drop Olofmeister down, and he should be able to tell if this setup is not perfect. So that's going to hold Crims back, hopefully. But nope. Thankfully, Shazam had to deep-peek, and that's going to give Crims the room he needs to press forward and pick up the headshot to finally take him out there in the window room.
Yeah, but this flank coming out from Rush, he's going to come out from underneath, and Stanislaw getting aggressive in the B halls is going to be able to find Crims as well. So Dennis, your last man standing, was able to get at least one trade here, but it's going to be a very difficult task for him. And again, look at how aggressive they are up here in the B halls. Rush is all the way at the very end, so he could surprise him by playing this forward position, and he is going to stay up here in the hallway right now. But I believe he's actually looking the wrong way, thinking that this player is going to come all the way around from catwalk, and he actually shows himself. He spotted Dennis.
I think Rush, yeah, Rush,
He had to have.
Rush has noticed Dennis, but it's not the other way around. Oh,
never
Exit,
mind.
though. Back up those steps. That's a nice little headshot there.
He could get into B and get the bomb plant as well, because the CTs are so far disengaged from this, relying on that forward information from Rush. So now Naf going to try his hand.
And Dennis just waiting this out. The problem becomes, though, Fnatic have been playing this far too slowly, and now he doesn't really have a whole lot of time. He has to get aggressive and look for these final 2 frags, but Naf is going to be sitting up in an elevated position. He'll be able to shut out Dennis there. And that, again, will be another round going towards the direction of Conquest as they continue to try and forge their way back into this game.
Yeah, so Conquest now on 4 rounds to 7. Looking to at least make this a close half, and they've got an opportunity here because they finally pretty much dwindled down that economy from the Fnatic side. You can see they're going to be on 4 pistols and an AK here, all with head armor, but a limited amount of nades to work with. So they've only got 1 smoke, so a fast execution towards A is out of the question. You don't have a smoke for stairs or connector. You don't have a smoke for jungle side, maybe just 1 for CT, but that's a pretty big gamble, especially with Shazam. They don't know that he doesn't have an AWP this round, but with him being over towards jungle side, you don't want to take into that site with that kind of a limited buy. But now you can see they're actually going to go for this, and JW going to find Stanislaw. He was completely blinded, and now we see the execution coming out. The pistol comes out from Rush. See what he can do here, because it's still 5 on basically 1 at the site right now, and he's going to go down to Olafmeister's Tech 9. So back in this one, Fnatic.
Yeah, Fnatic have basically already got control of this site too, and this is going to be a very large problem for Conquest now if they even attempt to retake with these final 2 players. Shazam basically was shut down as he attempted to push his way outside of the market room there. And again, we can see Dabs picking up 1 opening kill, but it's almost immediately traded back out. But Dabs being fed some frags there. Both Dennis and Crims trying to forge their way back out. They're going to be shut down. But then Olafmeister coming in with a touchdown shuts down Dabs before any more damage can be done. Fnatic, however, do steal away the round on what was just a force up from them, and that's not going to be good for Conquest.
No, because of that round 1, because of Fnatic taking that one in the B-bomb site, it's going to force the save here onto the CT side of Conquest. So really difficult spot for them to be in right now. And Flush it, he knows it. He's on the UMP 45 right now. He's going to be farming for that cash money to move on forward, because you saw the money is not good on Fnatic's side, and any fatalities that they have in this round is going to put a very limited buy on them moving forward as well. And just rushing the Molotov, Olafmeister, no respect. The backstab.
And he's going to pick up a whole load of kills. But, I mean, as we talk about some of the problems here for Conquest, as we're in a little bit of a lull round, I mean, we just look at it there in that previous round. They absolutely should have won that eco. The big problem becomes, again, the player that is staying stationary there towards the van position, just sitting back. He's wide out in the open, so when they rush outside of apartments, he's dead meat already. And then from that point forward, the call that they're actually coming into the site comes out far too late, and the rotations just, even after the call goes out, the rotations are just so slow from Conquest. There's a lot of problems with the team communication aspect and just general movement here from Conquest, so they seem to be very timid to make any sort of big movement around the map. That's really impeding them from picking up quite a few of these rounds now.
Yeah, and the big thing about that is that it's so unpredictable playing against Fnatic, because they don't respect your gameplay until you make them. And right now, the pistol's actually doing some work here. Daps with the CZ is going to be able to find one. Stanislaw did at B as well, but he's going to fall to Crims, and we're going to be back onto a 3 versus 4. But Daps has salvaged an AK-47, and he's been playing relatively well in some of these tough situations. Now we've got a very aggressive push from Shazam. Once again, getting in towards this bomb site. Nafly and Shazam are going to be able to combine to take one down. Rush and Daps combine to take down Flush It. It's all on Crims. What can he do? It's going to be a, well, it was a 3 versus 1. Now it's going to be a 2 versus 1. And Nafly in the backside of this site. He's so good with this Desert Eagle, but he's going to peek the wrong corner at the wrong time. And Crims is going to isolate the 1v1. So again, just a little overextended there on the CT side.
There's a problem there with Naf being that far up, and obviously again Rush is way too far back. Like, he's in a standard position. It's not like he's just a late rotate. He's actually sitting back outside of Cat there. That's a pretty, unfortunately they're counting on Crims rolling back out and actually trying to finish off the final 2 players, which he technically ends up doing. But the setup is just assuming he's going to roll out and go for the plant without a check in the site, which is a bit foolish, and he had 55 seconds left anyway, so it's kind of assumed that he's going to sit back and wait for those final 2 players to come to him, which works out perfectly, and he's able to close out that round, giving Fnatic now a 10th round for themselves.
Yeah, and that, honestly, at first you're looking at it on paper, that's not a round that Conquest should have even remotely been in, but it comes down to that 3v1, and Crims just too strong. Finds them all.
We actually see the double up setup coming in for the T side now over here on Fnatic, as they're going to pick those both up, but you can see him starting to push in. Daps is in a pressured situation, sitting underneath the platform right now, trying to keep himself alive, but Fnatic are stuttered again. There's these flashes coming back out here from Conquest. They're not able to make any forward momentum, and Shazam just ripping into these players left and right. Some good damage has gone into Flusha, and he's managed to execute Dennis. Now Olofmeister trying to turn it back around. He does pick up a kill back by middle, and that's going to shut out Rush. So Conquest are going to have a little bit more to worry about, and they'll have to back out a little bit and give Fnatic room to breathe.
Oh, but Olofmeister, he's walking through this smoke. He's got a player right on the other side, and Naf is going to find him anyway, and now he's going to go for another peek. But look at this. Flusha lines up too. Shazam and Daps goes down, and it just swings all the way back. It's Stanislaw versus 2. So all that work that Shazam and Naf just did got completely negated. Coming around from the side, though, Stanislaw is going to be able to find one. He's in a 1v1 versus Flusha. He knows that he's behind the default plant boxes, so he should be able to get in here and get this frag because Krims is just, he's still sitting behind here. But Krims takes the peek and just rips his head off, and you can see the disappointment on Naf's face at the end of that round.
We talk about Naf and Shazam again, and unfortunately I don't have the exact stats sitting in front of me, but those two again were just making all of the impact, it seemed, for most of these rounds coming out of Conquest. They were the two big fraggers that were able to make the impact that finally allowed Conquest to pick up a few of these rounds, but we just didn't ever see it coming out from a lot of those other guys. There was not a big performance from the other 3 members of the roster.
Yeah, and I apologize, that wasn't Naf, that was actually Stanislaw. That was a little emotional there at the end of that last round, but understandably so. A little frustration there. 4-11 is your score line. Fnatic in control of this one. Big T side half for him. And I honestly don't really see Conquest with... Yes, that is Naf. Thank you very much. I don't really see much of an opportunity here for the CT or for the Terrorist side to get back into this one. And Dennis, well, he's going to make sure they have absolutely no shot at this. Picking up back-to-back-to-back headshots.
Dennis is just having a good old time.
Dennis the Menace.
At top mid right now. Hold on, can he get a fourth? Finally. We see him shut out by Stanislaw there, taking him down. But
where you fall, I will pick you up. And Olofmeister goes right back into Stanislaw. Nafly can't lay it down, and Olaf right around the corner is going to be able to finish that off. So there's a little hesitation there, but Fnatic come out. They win both of the pistol rounds now, and that's just a really tough spot for Conquest to be in right now.
Olofmeister just wanted to slide into your T-spawn there to finish off the final player. So Fnatic again are going to start off this.
I'm blushing.
Are going to start off this half strong for themselves. And for Conquest, we do see the second round vibe because they kind of have to, unfortunately. Yeah. With how far behind they are, they really can't afford to sit back and stay for the 4th round. As much as I think they would like to with this sort of strategy they're trying to employ here on this T side, it just won't work. They need to try and get back into this game right now, otherwise Fnatic are going to gain too large of a lead.
And the other big thing is that they didn't, they got 1 kill in the pistol round, no bomb plant. So it would kind of be foolish. There's no reason. They're not going to be able to get a 3rd round buy-in. So they go for this. But Olofmeister and his Mag 7 have something to say. That's going to be 1.
They're lining up.
Oh my God. If he would have taken that shot and gotten like a triple with a Mag 7, that would have been insane. But the flash comes out. He's going to be looking, duck hunting. There's a 2nd one.
And now Flush is here.
There's a 4th. Olofmeister with the 4K. And that is a metric crap load of money that he just earned that round off of 4 Mag 7 kills. But he was just duck hunting in the backside of that site.
This is again the problem from Conquest though, is they're so timid. They just don't want to. They just don't really want to seem to make any progress. They're all sitting back. They're trying to hide. Like, you go first, then you go first, then you go first. Then Fnatic's like, okay, I'll go first, and then they just shut them all down.
Well, they were so scared to go through that smoke in B halls. I really wish Olofmeister would have pulled. Just tap mouse one time and see how much damage that would have done, because that was nuts. But he does get the 4K anyway, and now they're going to go aggressive onto the A ramp side there. So they're playing this no respect style. That flashbang is brutal. But Rush is going to be able to answer back, but they've got another player playing close. That's going to be Krims, who manages to find 2, finds 3. But Daps is going to be able to trade that. But JW from distance is going to be able to take him down with the scout headshot through the wall as well with style points. And that's going to be a 14-4 scoreline now. Fnatic in complete control.
And with the way Fnatic are playing this too, they just want to shut this down. They don't want to let this go any further. They're playing, as you said before, absolutely no respect given a Conquest at all. Pushing into them, rushing them exactly where they're pressing out, and just shutting them down so far in these first couple of rounds. But we now see the vibe coming out from Conquest. And of course, this is going to be their real last chance to try and forge their way back into this game. They drop it here. Fnatic, they're going to be on match point, and for Conquest, well, they're not going to have any money. So.
Yeah, they got to go for this, 12 rounds in a row to win this map out. And Olofmeister opening things up. They've got the double up set up here on the CT side for Fnatic. They already know that there's going to be one up in Palace, and Krims, he's going to find him. Rush and Connector. Gets dinked, but he does manage to finish off 1. But, oh! JW, are you okay?
A little bit of trouble there. He's going to have to go for the repeat.
Oh, and he gets it anyway.
Yeah, he manages to correct it, so that's a good little mix-up there on his part. But because this happens, he actually isn't able to rotate into the A side quickly enough, so now we can see Daps actually getting that plant. And if he can clutch this out, That's going to be a nice little boost because he's given a lot of time to get into his post plant. I do think Fnatic.
They know he's there.
Yeah,
JW had to have spotted him when he was crossing over from the jungle side, and they're just going to push on in. He finds the first. Can he get the second one, though, to keep his team alive in this one? No, he cannot. JW finishes him off, and he does have a kit, so the defuse is going to come out, and we're going to be on map point now for Fnatic on Mirage.
Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, no surprises here. Fnatic obviously playing to their best. One of their bigger maps here, and looking on to the next one here, Inferno. The prospects, unfortunately, are not going to be looking very good at all here for Conquest. They made some good strides on the CT side, but when it's come to this T side, not only do they really just not have enough rounds to play around with, but we're just not really seeing anything on these gun rounds at all here either.
Well, the thing about it, too, is the rounds that Conquest won on their CT side, they won in a pretty big fashion as well. You know, they had 3 or 4 players alive. It looked like, hey, maybe they can string some rounds together, but Fnatic's just, nope. Not going to let it happen. We're just going to answer right back into your guys' faces, and we're going to be able to take you guys down. And now that AWP from JW at the top side of mid, still looking for it. Whoa.
All right. I don't want to AWP here anymore.
I don't. I'm just going to...
I'm JW. I smoke myself out a window.
Not only that, but he got it to stay right on a little lip in the window. That was neat.
So that's obviously, again...
That's the little thing.
Shouldn't really impact too much here because now Dennis is going to be able to roll in there, and he's picking up kills left and right from within side of the A site there, just outside. And we'll see Rush picking up one more response kill to all of this, but still leaving it down to a 3 versus 3 scenario. And Conquest now trying to maybe push their way. They're falling back now, actually, too, as they made some progress towards B, hoping to draw rotation from Fnatic. And to a certain degree, it is going to work, as I believe they're going to bring Dennis a little bit closer. He's not actually going to fully rotate. He's going to come back just outside of cross space.
This is scary.
The problem is, though, is, as they try to re-enter, here's Flushy. He's just ready for this, and he can call this. Even if he does go down, not going to be a big issue, but he's down at 1 HP. Going to try to take down Daps. Daps will find the trade, but now he's alone in this 1 versus 2.
Yeah, and he's also contending against Dennis, who has himself around. 3 kills on that one. 16-4 is going to be map number 1. DE Mirage going the way of Fnatic, and that was actually the pick for Conquest. So a little bit of a rough spot for them to be in, but we're going to be moving forward onto Inferno in just a little bit. Guys, we're going to send it over to our lovely analysts over there. We've got Machine, Anderson, Moses on standby. So take it away, Alex.
Take it away, we shall. Thanks very much, Mega Man and Blue. And a game of lackluster performance from Conquest. We called it. We said it was going to be going the way of Fnatic. And you may have noticed on the way on that fly-in that Sean was so embarrassed by the way Conquest performed. He actually didn't bother to turn up. He's actually completely disappeared. He's actually crying currently into a box of tissues. But how are you guys feeling about that one? Amazingly.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
You said 100%. You said there was quite literally 0% chance of them picking that one up.
I mentioned this when we got into the back room to watch this match, that, you know, when we did predictions before everything started, I mean, it's a bit harsh, but we probably should have just talked about, are they going to get to 10 rounds in these 2 maps?
In these 2 maps, as in
both
combined?
maps. I don't know if they're going to get to 10.
Where are we at now? 3? 4?
4.
Excuse me. Okay.
Well, Inferno is probably going to be worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that is the problem. I mean, I don't know. We had a bit of a look at some of the stuff that Olaf Meister was doing, right? How crazy he just like walks out of apartments, just walks into connector, kills everybody. So I don't know, like it's really hard to deal with that if you're Conquest.
Yeah.
And Fnatic actually, because they got started on the T side, we get a little bit of chance to see how they actually did take mid control, smoking off window, Molotoving connector, and there's nothing that Conquest could do to stop that.
Yeah, just very, very efficient.
Yeah, their AWPers get nullified immediately, and they get forced to open CT spawn and B instead. And that's all Fnatic want, mid control.
And I mean, Conquest made quite a statement in that 4th round, just going double AWP straight out of the gates. That was like a...
I love that.
You're a big fan of that. I mean, it's a risk, right? That's a huge risk to get to take.
Yeah, but if you're playing Fnatic, what are you going to do? Like, I actually think that is a reasonable choice. Yeah, because what if you fight and win and you shut down JW early on or something like that? Yeah. I mean, Shazam is definitely not a bad offer. So, you know, maybe if he wins the first initial fight, like let's just say he wins 2 fights against JW, when JW has an AWP 2. Like, imagine how much leverage that would give them in those rounds, right? But I mean, it doesn't work out, but I still like the idea.
It even comes into the situation then where they won a couple in a row, and they forced Fnatic onto some Tech 9s and some PG50s and some Deagles, and it's just still steamroll. Yeah. I mean, Olaf just runs through fire and mid, and you can see Conquest is kind of like, all right, we have stairs, Molotov, no one's going to be coming through, like, at least we can turn our attention elsewhere. And then, of course, Olaf just comes right through with the Tech 9 and just barrels into the defense. So he's looking very content about that right now as well. So it's just like, what are you going to do?
Self-satisfied.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's right. I am a boss.
It's what we do.
It's what they do. Fnatic just care to kind of pocket themselves the 100,000 and walk away from this one. Of course, there's a lot of steps to take for that one. First being second map. Map 2 will be played out on Inferno, and you guys were very critical of Inferno being available for Fnatic to pick that one up. I just want to, like, Anders, can you just explain a little bit about why that feels like such a foolish decision to make coming up against Fnatic?
I mean, it's always been one of their strongest maps. It's been like them and Envy and the XTSM team have always been very good. Fnatic were traditionally very good at playing this map on the CT side, but they were also very good on the Terra side with Pronax. I think Flush is still keeping up with a lot of that. I don't think there's been like a huge drop-off in the T-side play. What's really scary is now Crims has really been showing up lately, and him in the B-bomb side it's insane. I mean, you're not going to go into B if you're playing Crimson North in that bomb side. You're just not.
B is close.
So, yeah,
was
B
that
is close.
what you said?
Yeah, it's not an available option.
Yeah.
Especially because at times there, I'm not sure most recently with Dennis coming in, but I know that for times it was Crimson Olaf playing in the B-bomb site, and then it's like it's really like half the map is gone. Then you have JW, and it's like, is he going to get aggressive down mid? Is he going to get aggressive in halls and window? Like, what's going to come from that? And that's the big thing too. JW being a mobile opera, there's so many places on this map you can go with an AWP. I mean,
this is just a recap.
It's just like. I mean,
it's like he's at the carnival. He's just like playing whack-a-mole.
He's skeet shooting, basically. It's just like throw him in the air, knock him down.
What I actually am interested in, Moses, maybe you can help us out with this. What can they learn from this Conquest? Because I mean, we kind of knew already there wasn't going to be much of a chance here. So what can you take away from a match like this if you are sort of an up-and-coming NA team? Because they've had some really good results, Conquest, in the NA scene, right? They're not just nobodies in that sense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's I think what. Okay, first thing you learn is you don't pick Mirage against Fnatic.
All right, that's an instant lesson.
Like, I don't know why that is still a lesson that needs to be taught, but let's just go back to it. We'll revisit it from earlier, like this entire year. But also part of it, too, is it's almost like they didn't realize that, like, because they said the reason we pick Mirage is we know they're good on it, but we feel really good on our Mirage. And it's like, yeah, you feel good on Mirage against North American teams. Like, you can't take that same mindset into playing against Fnatic. Like, you just can't, and it goes that way for any map. Is, you know, at times North American teams, and it's just endemic of having a shallow map pool. They're like, we have to pick maps that we're confident on, and it's like, well, when it's one of their best maps, like, you're playing right into their hands.
Yeah, so this is that false confidence thing that I brought up previously, where it's just like North American teams, they have this kind of obscured view of what their strengths are because they're strengths against North American teams. However, they probably have a different set of strengths up against the European roster. I mean, they might not be so obviously available, but there must be, there is definitely, you know, some glimmers in the rough, you know, diamonds in the rough, whatever. With this Conquest roster, they've already said that they're a strong bunch of individuals. However, that's the same thing we're saying about Fnatic, and I mean, where do they scale up? You're saying, yeah, they're strong. Conquest have got a pretty good, you know, they've got a good core roster. I mean, the synergy isn't a problem. We talked about it before. They've got that core 3 from Denial not too long ago, and
leadership, I guess. But
leadership?
that goes for the whole North American scene right now, isn't it?
And it's not even in terms of tactical.
Yeah.
It's in terms of a leader who's going to be able to actually direct your team in practices, make sure everyone's focused. Like, you can throw tactics out the window. Don't even worry about them for right now. But when are we going to have a team with a leader that steps up and is like, we need to do this, we need to do this, and it's going to suck. It's not going to be any fun, but we need to put the work in now to have some kind of an impact, you know, later at the tournaments. And I mean, it's these things too where just like small mistakes, like you just can't make these many small mistakes against these top teams because they're going to punish it. I mean, you look at Liquid, perfect position to win that Cobble match. They drop a 5-on-3 against Pistols. Like, you open up the window for any of these teams, Fnatic, Envy, they're so good on every single round with every gun. Any kind of window of opportunity, they're going to capitalize on it.
When we get Sean back, and I'm sure we will, we should definitely revisit this whole leadership conversation.
I was about to say, you triggered something there.
Because if you're saying Sean is the perfect example of someone who is like a very good tactician, and has like a lot of, but maybe like lacks some of the leadership skills. I'd love to.
I tell you what, we'll do some magic. Are you ready for this? Let's go ahead and see what Conquest had to say when they came into this one, and if we're lucky, maybe Sean will decide to join us back on the safe. We'll be back in a minute.
Needles.
We actually started off the season 1-5 in 12th place. Managed to come back with 15-7 record, so pretty insane comeback seeing as the season started out pretty bad. Well, we went through a bit of a roster change, brought in Stanislaw, who's like a nice teammate of mine, and it's like helped tremendously. him and Dabs just do like so much homework for the team. We seriously took every single match as intense as we could and brought us here to LAN. Once you like build some chemistry together, you subconsciously know what your teammate's gonna do and how you can react off it, and you just play better off your teammates the more you play with them. We're going up against Fnatic. We've done our homework, but we're mostly focusing on playing our own game. We can't really say like, oh, we got the hard team first. Like, if we want to win the tournament, we have to beat every team. So, pretty ready. I'd love to see Luminosity do well. They just came off like a recent amazing performance. I'd like to see them keep that up. Prove to people it's not just like a one-time thing. I'm just really excited to play CS. I love to compete. I love LAN one-on-one.
Shazam there just saying he really wants to play CS, and you better believe he's here. Sean Gares, thank you so much for joining us, mate. You obviously were just not interested in talking about
Well,
map,
I figured
map
if all of North America isn't showing today, why should I?
It's perfect.
Wow.
He plays
There we
it
go.
so well.
Oh, look at that.
That's good,
Cool
that's
as a
good.
cucumber. So, dude, we were having a conversation, and Anders and I were like, hang on a second, we were just talking about this. A lack of leadership in North America. That was the kind of main point. We were like, okay, Conquest have got some pretty strong individuals. What are they
Well,
lacking? And that was the main point.
It was more than that. I was trying to throw you under the bus a little bit, Sean, because my theory has always been in this Cloud9 team that you recently departed.
Yeah.
That you were doing a lot of the tactical stuff. Like I know how much you watch demos and everything.
Yeah.
But that like on the leadership front, like when for someone to like pick up the team and be like,
Yeah.
look, you know, you guys are doing exactly what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you know there's going to be hell to pay. Like that kind of leadership.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like there's a lot of left. The only people really that, I mean, maybe not the only, but the few people that I can think of are like maybe Dazed and Steel, and they go
Yeah.
like so far on the other side that maybe people eventually say, well, I can't play with these guys anymore because it's too much, right?
Quite
Yeah.
abrasive.
But then you've got not a lot in between there. So I don't know.
It's a weird spot for North America because there's not a lot of people playing right now that are in-game leaders and are respected, which is the biggest thing. You have to have respect out of your teammates if you're going to yell at them and kind of not yell at them, but like criticize them for the mistakes they make in a given round. And those players just don't exist right now in the scene outside of like Dazed and Steel, like you said. So, I mean, when I felt comfortable to criticize my teammates and because I would criticize myself verbally.
Yeah.
Like you have to criticize yourself as a leader too. And I don't know if that person exists right now in the North American scene. I haven't gotten to listen to the comms of the other teams to find that out though.
So the hunt begins then for like a
Yeah.
kind of someone to step up to the plate for that one. We have got to do predictions now though, guys. Come into this one. I think it's very clear where we're going to be going, and I think we're going to be seeing quite a lot of similarities in these predictions. But why don't you start with you, Anders? Give us a score just to keep it spicy. You said they're not going to get 10 rounds, Moses. So I mean, that's
Well, in the
tough.
two maps, so they can
Combined.
Yeah, so they won't get 6 here basically.
So you're saying
I
under
think,
6?
I think like more like. I think I'm going to give them 4 rounds in this one. I
Damn,
think, yeah,
okay.
something similar.
I think it's all going to depend on who wins the knife round. Is the big thing is just how many
Yeah.
rounds, not who's going to win, just how many rounds are they going to get.
Okay.
If they start on CT, they could, you know, get up towards 8, 9, maybe 10 rounds. But I mean, if they start on T side, it's just going to be a bloodbath.
Because you're suggesting there's a big stop sign outside B, and they're going to be limited to half the
There's
map.
just a stop sign everywhere, really.
All right. Inferno, Sean, is this going to be a stompy second map?
Yeah, I can't see Conquest getting more than 10 rounds this map. I have a little bit more rounds than Jason, but I mean, you can't count them on more than one hand. So.
Okay, so we've giggled our way through the analysis of map 1 and going into map 2. It's going to be Conquest versus Fnatic, guys. The scene is set for the Swedes to start strong, and to bring you the casting, it's going to be Mega Man and Blue. Take it away, you cuties.
Alrighty, thank you once again, Michelle.